For me, honestly, risk for me means making sure I never sacrifice the four walls, right? That food, clothing, shelter, and transportation, because we always got to get to work. We always got to have a roof over our head. We always got to eat, right? So making sure that nothing that we do is risking those four walls. That's the first thing.
Hello, Empower Nation. Welcome to Empower Her Money podcast. I am your host, Angela Duncan. Today's episode, I get to interview Dr. Teresa Martin. She's a leading expert in real estate law, and her company is Enjoy Your Legacy. She's also a podcast host of a Fiscally Fabulous podcast. And today, she's going to talk about the importance of financial education. She's going to talk about her real estate investing knowledge, how to take calculated risks when you're investing, mentorship, multiple income streams, and so much more. Today's episode is sponsored by morewithangela.com, where you as the client have the opportunity to earn double digits passively on your investments. Go to morewithangela.com, book a call with me directly, and let me help you on your passive income journey. Keep more, make more, live more. Dr. Teresa, welcome to Empower Her Money podcast. How are you today?
I am doing super fantastic, Angela. I'm so elated to be here.
Yes, me too. You have great expertise. You've done a lot of things. I would love for you to first start off with your journey and kind of how you got to Fiscally Fabulous today.
Wow. Okay. Well, to start off, I was a teen mom. I always start with that, right? Because I'm an only child. I was a teen mom, and that's not how parents want you to be, right? And so for me, it was a journey of self-exploration and also trying to make sure my parents knew that, I wasn't going to be a statistic, right? And so it all started there. So I was always an overachiever. And so from that, I went to law school, I got my degrees, went to law school, graduated, started my own firm due to 9/11. And with that, a lot of things happened in between that journey, between my credit going from a 810 to a 437. And that was no fault of my own. That was because someone decided to, crash planes into buildings and stuff like that. And so that's where the journey really started, on how do I get out of this situation? Because from there, Angela, with the tumbling of the buildings in 9/11, and then my credit tumbling, and then the foreclosure came, and I had to figure out how I get out of here. How did I, with an ESQ, get here? And that's where the journey really began.
Yes. Now you've been through quite a bit. I would love to first ask about the credit score. Can you talk a little bit about the journey from going from the low and how you got it back to hopefully being an amazing credit score again?
Yeah, so understanding about that whole beast called credit with algorithms that you have no control over, right?
Mhm.
And so the whole concept of go to school, get a good job, make sure you pay your bills on time. You never really think about your credit. My husband always says it's like keys. You never think about it until you're trying to go somewhere, right? And so that's what it was. So I didn't really pay that much attention because I always did what I was supposed to do. So it wasn't until the 9/11, happened where, jobs were lost and things were happening, no control, everything spiraling out, that I realized that my credit, all the hard work that I did, tumbled. So what I did from there is really started looking and educating myself about the credit system, right? And how it actually worked and how it worked against you. Okay. And so that's what I really did. And so I started doing real estate. I came from a family of real estate investors. I got my first real estate property when I graduated and all that. So I learned about creative financing and how I can start building it back while I still did real estate, right? Because with that credit score, I couldn't get loans or anything. So I had to figure something out. So what I realized is that you do have to pay your bills on time. However, you have to know the closing statement date and your due date. There's a difference, right? And then paying before, the bill is due is also a part of the formula on how you can actually increase that score, because that 35% of that payment history, if I can now start manipulating, if you will, how I pay my bills and pay them on time, I can start manipulating that history. And so I learned those tricks. While it's within the legal system, it's really knowing how you need to pay your bills and making sure you know you can't escape it. So you got to figure out a way, whether you have a job or not, you still have to figure out how to pay your bills when they become due. And in my suggestion, before they become due.
Yeah, so we're jumping right into financial education. You just gave us a lot of information about credit cards and credit scores. What other financial information do you think is important for people to know?
Multiple streams of income,
Mhm.
and this is not just for real estate. I mean, this is like multiple streams, period, because we know in today's economy nothing's promised, right? Jobs are lost every day, right? And so if you only have that one stream, called that job, just over broke, right? If you have that job, then what else are you having in play, just in case someone decides one day that we need to cut somewhere, and that cut might be you, right? And so for me, I just think that we need to think about our skill sets. What are we good at? What not necessarily going to school for it, but it's kind of our gift, our talent, right? The nurturing that we have, life coaching, right? We've been calling our friends, and we've been the person who gives advice all the time. How about get paid for it, right? And so that's some of the things that I just tell people is we need to try to figure out multiple streams of income. We don't have to jump into stock market investing if you can't really think beyond your job right now because you don't have that much. Trying to figure out how ends meet and not realizing that they're ends. That's why they never meet. But that's a whole nother thing in and of itself. But yeah, so financial literacy and financial education for me is first being able to stand in the place you are, figuring out where you are right now and where you want to go. And then that middle piece, which bridges the gap, what things can fit in there that fits within something that you can do and that you can control. Because so many times as women, I really feel as though we give our control away. And it's time that we empower her, right? And make sure that we actually take back the control so that we know how to build wealth, grow wealth, sustain wealth, so that we can build generational wealth and, take that down and change that family tree.
Yeah, so we're getting the financial education. We're ready to invest. I mean, the stock market can be risky, real estate can be risky. How do we decide, like, to calculate what that risk looks like and where to invest?
For me, honestly, risk for me means making sure I never sacrifice the four walls, right? That food, clothing, shelter, and transportation, because we always got to get to work. We always got to have a roof over our head. We always got to eat, right? So making sure that nothing that we do is risking those four walls. That's the first thing, right? I'll never put that at risk, right? And so after that, how are we putting aside monies, that we are using as our wealth plan, right? I have a wealth account, right? So that is the only money that I use to invest in wealth building activities, right?
Mm.
Real estate or some stocks or something like that. I'm scared of the stock market, so I do drips. All right? I'm scared. I got to do some drips. But so where are we putting our monies, and then deciding. I'm sure that's what you teach all your listeners. What we do from there. But as long as you pay yourself first, okay, never sacrifice the four walls, and putting aside that wealth account where you now use that account to build wealth strategies, I think that that's the best thing that I can tell them how to manage risk for me.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, I would agree too. And maybe for the audience that doesn't quite understand the term pay yourself first, what does that mean to you?
That means before anybody gets paid, you pay yourself first, right? Because the whole concept of it is when you work every day and you're working to pay your bills, you should be a bill. You should be a priority. And you
Mm.
should have that on your expense report where you're paying yourself a little something extra to make sure that you have a nest egg. Because if you're spending everything that comes in, then you're not taking care of you're taking care of everybody else except for the most important person is you. Because if you go down, who's going to pay the bills then? Right. So you need to make sure that you pay yourself first, whether it's 10%. I mean, that's based on, your financial coaches and, your management system, how much you decide that you're going to pay yourself. But you need to make sure you put it online on your expense sheet that comes off the top so that you make sure that you're taken care of. We
Yeah,
can't work all the time.
I agree with that because I mean, if you think about it, you're a business owner. You don't believe your employees are going to work for free. So why are you working for free?
I love it, Angela. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
You've you've got so much knowledge that you have, acquired. Talk to me about mentorships and coaches and what is your viewpoint on mentorships?
My viewpoint on mentorships and coaching, consulting, they all do different things, right? But for me, you can't do it alone. I don't believe that there is any such thing as self-made millionaire. I mean, how could you be, right? You need team, you need support, you need somebody to help you avoid those landmines who've done it before successfully. Right? Because there's a lot of people out there who've done it, but have they done it successfully? Do you have a roadmap that you can actually follow so that you can be successful? So mentorship is really important, whether it's paid mentorship, which is what I believe in, because
Mhm,
my thing is, unless you are dealing with the super wealthy, time is, money, right? So you really have to pay people for their information and expertise. And then you just put that on your expense line because that's a matter of paying yourself, right? For
mhm,
personal development and growth, right? But you need to really invest in people who are willing to invest in you, which means they care about that end result. Because the
mm,
whole thing is a lot of people today are calling themselves mentors and coaches and consultants. You need to do a little bit of due diligence. Angela has the blueprint on that, about, how do you deal with money, right? So you really need to get people in your corner, because I call it your board of advisors, right?
mm,
I want Angela to be a part of my advisory team because I need help in certain areas because I know what I know and I stay in my lane, right?
mhm,
And so for me, I think that you need to know your skill set, find out what you are missing, find your weakness, and then go hire your weakness,
mm,
right? That's
mhm,
how you actually now get coaching and consulting and things of that sort. And I always tell people, if you know what you're looking for and what you need, then when you go to events and webinars and boot camps and seminars and all these different things, you can kind of identify because you have put it on your map that I'm going here specifically to find someone to help me with A, B, and C. Once I find A, B, and C, then we can continue this networking party. But I need to find X, Y, and Z, right? Because that's one of the reasons why I tell people to be intentional about your growth, be
mm.
intentional about your wealth building, because mentorship, consulting, and coaching, while they're all different things and mean different things to different people, they're all important and part of your wealth plan.
Yeah, I heard a quote recently, and I'm going to probably totally botch it, but it talked about being an entrepreneur and how you should be constantly hiring your replacement, right? So building that team around you, making sure that you're not doing everything, because I agree with you. Self-made millionaire means that they had a team behind them. That's what that means to me.
Correct. And entrepreneurship, let me just add this too, Angela, because entrepreneurship in the space of being an entrepreneur, and we as entrepreneurs, we move and shake in different arenas, right? We do a lot. We wear different hats. But when people are building their business, my thing is from the legal hat. So I'm gonna put my law firm hat on, right? The first thing that we need to know when you're building your business, a part of your plan, and you're talking about money and revenue models, are you building a legacy business? Are you building a lifestyle business? There's
Mm,
different ways that we handle that. So if you're building a lifestyle business, that business may not, or you may not have the intention for it to go beyond you.
mm,
It's a way for you to build this business, build a seven-figure business, and you just want to live the life you want on your own terms. And when you swipe your card, it goes through, and you just vacation and do all the things you want to do. You may not have any intention on building it as an asset to sell it or leave it or whatever. So we would build that differently and structure it differently if we're building a legacy business where we're hiring team and we're putting systems together and we might want to sell it in the future. We're building to sell. So I think we need to make sure as entrepreneurs, what type of business are we really trying to grow? Because
Mm,
when we deal with that, then we can decide all the other things, the money aspect, the revenue models, and everything that comes along with that. So I think we need to, kind of peel back the onion a little bit just for our mindset to see what do we really want? Because everybody don't want to build a conglomerate empire. Some people
yeah,
just want to, go on vacation when they want to go, right?
yeah. So one of the fun things I like to ask people who come on my show, because I do talk about money and business. Where do you prefer to invest? Is it in real estate? And talk about that a little bit.
I prefer to invest in real estate.
Mhm,
And my real estate strategy is really more alternative real estate, the paper assets, right?
mhm,
So the tax liens and tax liens for the money, tax deeds for the wealth,
mhm.
right? Mortgage notes for the wealth, right? Of it. But I like both strategies because I don't want to manage tenants, tolls, and problems, right? I just don't want to do, been there, done that, wrote a t-shirt, got a t-shirt, right? Um, I really prefer to put my money and let my money work for me, which is portfolio type income. So that's where I tend to spend the most of my time because it gives me the leverage, to do the things that I want to do. Because I don't want to be a full time real estate investor working and going to fix properties and all of that, getting phone calls. I don't want any of that. I want to be the bank. And so for that, I prefer to invest in alternative real estate like
Yeah.
tax liens and deeds and notes.
Absolutely. We're in the same lane on that. And so if the audience is listening, you definitely need to do your research though, because this is not something that you can just jump into, just like any other investment. It can be a great passive opportunity, but the research part of it is key, and mentorship
Absolutely.
is a huge part of that too.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely, and it is an advanced strategy. So it's not like you're gonna, go on TV and see, or flip this house and do all this other kind of stuff. It's a little bit different, and you really got to take it differently because you are being the bank. Your money is making money. So until you build that nest egg, remember that wealth account. Till you build that nest egg to go off and put it into some type of alternative real estate or any other type of investment, you really do need to do your due diligence and listen to Angela and the empower her movement because I think that it's really, really important for you to know before you grow.
Yeah. Now you also have a podcast. I'd love to hear from you why you decided to start and why do you keep doing it today?
Yes, well, I first I'm not a I don't have a face for TV, so I think the podcast works for me. But beyond that, I really like to bring on experts so that audience can hear from the legal, business, and real estate side because I do believe that all three of those fits into every walk of life. You live in real estate, anything you do when you buy something from a retail store, it's a contract, right? So all these things, and we need to make sure we pay attention to that. So the Fiscally Fabulous podcast is basically my journey on how I went from foreclosure to Fiscally Fabulous, and so that brand really resonates with me and resonates with a lot of people because it's not where you are right now, it's where you want to go and where you came from, because wherever you are right now you're further along than where you were, right? And so being fiscally fabulous is building a lifestyle on your own terms, incorporating the legal, real estate, and business aspects of it. So that's what fiscally fabulous is about.
Yeah, love that. All right, Dr. Teresa, I have a fun question. If you could pick a superpower, what would it be and why?
Woohoo! It's a superpower. um I would say that I would want the power to read minds. I want to be a mind reader. Why would I want to be a mind reader? Because I want to get past all the clutter of what people say
Mm-hmm.
and get to the real nut and bolt of what they really want and what they're really thinking so that the universe can serve them up what they really want. Because sometimes we as people, especially women, we are servants, we are nurturers, so we
Hmm.
say and do things what we think people want us to do and say, but really, we really have our own ambitions and things of that sort. So I would be a mind reader so that I can read all the minds and I can really, help the universe serve them up what they really want.
Yeah, love that. Awesome. Dr. Teresa, it has been a pleasure. If our audience wants to get in touch with you, learn more about what you're doing, what is the best way for them to reach you?
encourage them to go onto my website, enjoyyourlegacy.com. But I would love everyone to be a part of my GW5 Wealth Summit. It's a 100% implementation summit. There's no sales at the summit, and it happens every November. So go to GW5conference.com. GW5conference.com and learn all about how you can implement from 0 to 100K in 3 days.
Yay, love that. Thank you so much for being on Empower Her Money podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning into Empower Her Money podcast. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to subscribe, share this podcast, and leave a review wherever you are tuning in.